Good evening, everyone. My name's Elizabeth Hanson, and you are at Keto Confab. It is Wednesday night, a little after 7 p.m. Central, and we meet each week this time to talk about keto-related items. And so for tonight, we had a request to discuss poop. So sometimes it is not a comfortable discussion, and other times it's just a funny discussion, but we're all adults here. We can talk about poop. And so we all have poop stories. I have poop stories from way back because I didn't know I was lactose intolerant or had problems with milk products, except for when I would eat too many of them, I would have diarrhea and bloating and gas and abdominal pain, and then I'd have to rush to the bathroom. It was comical at times because I could be in the middle of Walmart with a huge full basket, and I would have to abandon the basket and run for the bathroom. Or I could be in the middle of church and, oh no, rumblings. I haven't had those kinds of problems since being on keto. However, I have noticed a tendency that if I overdo my carbs, I will become a bit constipated. Not horrible. It's never been horrible. But if I leave my carbs in the window, in the nice, good little window, 20 carbs, then I'm usually okay. The other thing personal to me is I have found out that cheese really does affect my softness, moisture ratio in the poo and stuff. So, but that's me. Some people are another way. And I've heard people say that they've found a lot of mucus or oil in their poo. Other people, their poo comes out in little rock-like pellets and stuff. So tonight we are going to talk about poo and whatever poo means to you. So who wants to talk about poo? Everyone wants to talk about poo. Come on.
Well, I can honestly say, I'm no longer full of shinola. Yeah, the other day I guess I went a little bit overboard on my fats, and yeah, it was probably one of the more experiences of pooage that I was quite impressed with. Really, even as an adult, I'm continually amazed at what my body is capable of doing, what my body is capable of producing. I always used to think I had this little bitty nose, so I'm probably not going to produce a whole lot of snot. Well, that was wrong. But I have found that when I am eating right with my keto, I actually have pretty reasonable bowel movements, at least one a day, sometimes twice a day. But they're not ones that I have to work at. But I can remember when I first started on keto, I didn't pay attention to what I was eating or how I was eating, and definitely was not getting enough of the good old H2O. And that was one of my bigger downfalls. And I can remember, gross as it sounds, grabbing a latex glove and having to dig it out because I was so constipated. But now that I'm more regular on eating properly, I find that actually doesn't occur near as often. That's my story. Sticking to it.
Okay. All right. Who else wants to join into the poo fest?
Well, I can go. Before I started keto, I was regular every day, nothing, no problems. Even when I first got into keto again, I didn't have any problems, but then I started having the muscle cramps and started taking the magnesium, and then it was like too much magnesium or the wrong kind of magnesium, and then like, oh, I'm not gonna make it. And being like, I can't believe this is happening, but just not being able to make it. And then finding the magnesium product that does not make you have the trots so now I use magnesium glutamate, and it does not make me have the trots, but I also started putting in tablespoon of chia seeds in a yogurt every day, and that really helped too. I was really frustrated when you're on EMS and you're not by a bathroom. It's kind of embarrassing to have the trots, and I had to find some solution to that. So I think the fat and the magnesium all together, is just an explosive occasion, and it could happen any time of the day. It was never like, okay, I'm done with that. It was like, oh, here we go again, and trying to get to the bathroom in time and hope you weren't in somebody's house or in the middle of the road ditch, digging somebody out of a snowbank or something. So yeah, it was a real issue for probably 3 weeks until I did a lot more research on magnesium and what kinds to use. And then my muscle cramps have also gotten much better. I don't have them near as often. I was having them every night. I'd go to stretch and then have a complete muscle spasm in both legs and have to try to get up and hobble around until it went away. So I'm glad for both. I don't have diarrhea anymore, and I don't have the leg cramps like I was getting. So yeah, researching what kind of magnesium works for you is a key.
Mhm. I recently saw a video by, I think, Dr. Berg or Burke.
Yeah, Berg.
That's all the different kinds of magnesium and what they are best for, and how to figure out. And maybe I'll put that up on the Keto Confab Facebook page so you all can get it, or maybe I'll put it in the description to this. And it with any person, you you can have diarrhea, or you can have um, constipation and stuff. It's not just keto, just like I said, I
Right.
didn't know that I was lactose intolerant or allergic to milk products, and I figured it out eventually. I was told all sorts of stories that it was, uh, anxiety or nerves or whatever. And so anyway, but yeah, but it's good you figured it out. I saw today that Dr. Boz has a video about diarrhea and constipation. I'll put it in the description of this video when I post this video, and I've also put it on the Keto Confab page, so anybody can look at it. It's just an 11-minute video, and she discusses, the whole spectrum from constipation to diarrhea because you've increased your fat intake, and how to avoid that when you're at the beginning. So, all right.
I think in her book, she also has a chapter on that as well, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Early
And,
on. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know which book that is, Scott? Is it?
I don't think it's Any Way You Can. I think it's the other one.
Yeah, I
The
think
Keto
it's
Continuum.
Yeah, because I recently looked through Any Way You Can for other basic stuff, but yeah, I don't think it was in there. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So while I'm talking, yeah, before keto, I would defecate maybe once every other day, or sometimes every day. It was, but it wasn't really regularly every day necessarily, And then when I got onto the keto diet, I had some constipation, yeah, and I increased my spinach intake, thinking that, well, maybe more fiber would do it, and that kind of helped. But I had to reduce the amount of cheese I was eating, and so that helped out, and so and now Yeah, I'm pooping almost every day. Not exactly every day, but almost every day. But it's very dense though. But it's a different consistency. It's very dense, but it makes sense though. I mean, if you do a total change of your diet, well, then naturally, naturally your poop is going to change as well. Yeah.
Okay. Melody has a question. Melody, do you want to unmute and ask your question, or are you still having some difficulties with connecting? Looking to see if she's sending. Oh, she's having connection difficulties. Okay, so I'll read what she wrote. What she wrote was, well, I was thrilled to go from having IBS symptoms prior to starting keto. She's been on keto 6 weeks, I think now, to transition to bowel movements every third day, I think. Q3D, I think that's every third day, within a couple of weeks. But I'm wondering if this is normal, that you only have a bowel movement every third day. What does the group say?
It could be fine. It's long as
It's
you're
you.
having a couple each week, that's fine.
Yeah.
Some people go every day, some people go 3 times a day, some people go twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
So
And as long as it's not like Renee said, you have to go to the doctor, and it's okay.
Yeah.
I have found that if I am the fewer meals a day I eat, like I've had days where I've literally only eaten 1 meal and I didn't poop that day, and I didn't poop the next day because there was nothing for me to expel. I didn't eat enough. And I think too, it has to do with what are you consuming in what order as well. If you're eating foods that are bulking up your feces a lot, you can get a somewhat of an impaction going on. So it's important to rotate your food through so that you're actually getting foods in a pretty good rotating order to not only keep the bowel built up good for a good bulk so you don't have diarrhea, but at the same time you want to keep things moving through.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say something about Melody just said that she's not worried about it, and that's good. You don't have to. The people that you can become addicted or physiologically dependent, I guess is a better word, on laxatives. People that take laxative every single day or 3 times a week or on a regular basis just to have a bowel movement do become dependent on it. And you have to. And I worked in the GI lab for several years. And when you have a colonoscopy, when you're dependent on laxatives, the color of the bowel changes. It gets kind of black and splotchy instead of the inner bowel, when it's all clean, is beautifully pale pink. It really is pretty. But people that are addicted to, well, dependent on laxatives, it turns it's just weird looking gray, like black splotchy is all I can say. And the doctors say, well, they're addicted to laxatives. You can see it right away.
Huh.
So
that's interesting.
Now things if you take fiber like chia seeds, like Dr. Barbaugh says, that's not considered a laxative. Or now a lot of people take psyllium, Metamucil, and Dr. Boz doesn't recommend that because it can tend to raise people's blood sugar sometimes. But those kinds of things that's not what I'm saying about. I'm saying somebody that takes milk and magnesia every single day or 3 times a week, or like people that don't move, and like people that are in nursing homes that's on their daily tray kind of thing. It's not good for you.
Yeah,
So,
that's very interesting. Quite possibly the reason it goes from pink to a gray is there may not be as good a blood flow in the
well, yeah,
bowel that they use the laxatives and everything. I just wanted to say for those who aren't looking at the chat, Melody did say that she's not concerned about the frequency. She was just wondering if the
right.
change in how her bowel movements were before and now is normal. And I want to say that I think it's not only normal, but it's expected
I
because
think, yeah,
what keto does is it heals what's going on. And if you had IBS before and now your bowel movements have changed and are better, you know, you're not running to the bathroom or horribly plugged up either end of the spectrum. It's because your bowel is healing with the ketones that you're giving the body. So
yeah,
I think it's a great sign that, you know, the bowel is healing. It may not happen, you know, for Melody, she said it happened in like 2 weeks, but for some people with diverticulitis or colitis or Crohn's disease or who were celiac and
yeah.
still eating gluten and everything, um, it, yeah, it might not happen for 6 weeks, 3 months or more because there's a lot more to heal. But that's what this whole keto journey is about, is healing our bodies, healing our guts, healing our livers, healing our kidneys, healing our bowels, healing our
Mhm.
brains, healing everything. And so go you, Melody.
That's right. There's
Yeah.
somewhere in the fasting window, but I can't remember at what day or what hour, but there's somewhere in the fasting. I know it's not up to 72 hours because that's what Dr. Boss says, that don't do any longer than that. But your body produces intestinal stem cells to
Mhm.
help heal the intestine, which is wonderful.
Wow. So all those people out there with leaky gut
Yeah.
need to be doing keto so they can get to those healing stem cells. That's,
Yes.
yeah. I know a lot of people with leaky gut, like individuals with autism usually will have leaky gut syndrome.
Really?
And yes, and this is one reason they're told to stay off of the gluten grains, because it actually inside of them causes a substance to be secreted that's very much like cocaine. And it's part of the reason they don't connect, their brains don't connect, is they're basically high all the time. But it's not a good high. They're not having a good high.
Yeah.
So yeah, but anyway, so anyone else want to talk about poo?
Well, I will, since I was talking, I'll talk about mine a little bit.
Okay.
I am more on the tendency towards constipation.
Okay.
And even when I take magnesium every day, and I take magnesium oxide, and that's the one that's supposed to give you the trots, and it doesn't do that to me.
Mm.
But the only thing that really gives me an issue is when I do something I'm not supposed to do. Like if I have a sugar-free chocolate bar that has 4 servings in it,
Okay.
I eat the whole thing
No.
because I
Okay.
can't seem to stop.
I do
And
that.
all that sugar alcohol
Mm-hmm.
keeps me up all night long. Every whatever, I don't sleep.
Oh.
So I've only done that twice. I think that's I hope I've learned my lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Because now I don't even have any of it in the house because I know I can't eat the 3 little squares. I eat the whole bar. And it's the big bar that's like this big from Trader Joe's.
Oh,
And it's
okay.
delicious,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not good for me. So I don't have any in the house anymore. I haven't got, when I go to Trader Joe's, I don't get it. I get their fish out of their freezer.
Okay. We don't have a Trader Joe's here in North Dakota. I don't think anywhere.
Well,
Right,
we got
Julie?
one here in St. Petersburg just a couple of years ago, and I don't go very often because there's too many temptations.
Yeah, I first went to a Trader Joe's when I was in Montana for a class once, and I was like, wow.
Exactly. It's so beautiful. And the names of the things that they have, it's so funny. It's just, you just walk around and it's an entertainment. It's 2 hours of entertaining. If you
Yeah.
can stay away from putting stuff in your cart.
And they had a lunch counter that had organic food, and they had lots of gluten-free options and dairy-free options. I'm like, can I live here? Can I take you people home with me? I mean, it was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And I know out in California and Washington State, Oregon, you can't swing a stick and not hit a Trader
Find one.
Joe's because it's everywhere, but it's not here in North Dakota.
Yeah.
So
I thought Trader Joe's was the same as Aldi. I guess
It's owned by the same company,
mhm.
Yeah,
but
Yeah, 'cause-
but
Yeah.
Trader Joe's it's just more colorful, I guess is a better word. Aldi's is his little stepsister,
right, yeah. The first stepsister,
but they
yeah.
are owned by the same company. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
okay,
poor
yeah.
stepsister. Yes.
Yeah. Because we've been to a few Aldis, and I think, well, there's an Aldi that's just over the border from Fargo, into Minnesota here, and then, but they might be. I think they were planning on putting an Aldi in like the Fargo area here in North Dakota. Anyway.
Yeah, I saw something in the paper that we were going to get our first Aldi here in North
Yeah.
Dakota. So
I love to shop at Aldi.
we
I go
like
down
shopping
what
at
I
Aldi
call
too.
the aisle of shame, where it's not
Oh.
food, it's just stuff, blankets or kitchenware or
Yeah,
Yeah.
slippers or shoes or bathing suits or
it's random. It's random stuff.
you never know what's there.
Right.
If there's something that you want, you better
This is-
get it because
This
it
is the
won't be
one
back.
topic I can talk about tonight.
Okay.
I lived in Germany for 7 years. Aldi's is a gigantic company, much bigger than Trader Joe's in Europe.
Oh,
And Lidl is the second big one. And then there's other ones too. But the thing about Aldi's, when they sell you a pair of tights or a sewing machine or something like that, it's always good quality.
Mhm.
They find the best quality for every.
really?
They only have one mayonnaise, they only have one ketchup, and they only have one mustard, but it's good quality. You can always be assured that the quality is good.
Yeah.
But that's all I have to say about Aldi.
Yeah, Aldi originated in Germany. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so any questions about poo? Now, Melody said she had 2 questions tonight. What's your other question, Melody? And anybody else have anything to say about poo or any other questions or comments, snide remarks? We'll wait for Melody. While we're waiting for Melody to put up her questions, I did go through the workbook. And in the workbook, Dr. Boz's discussion of bowels and poop starts on page 41. And then she has a list of things to do if your bowels are too slow. And I don't know how I missed this one, but the abdominal massage. And I'm like, how did I miss that? But I did. But she mentions drink salty water, the chia seeds to the rescue, milk of magnesia if you're in a hurry or desperate, abdominal massage, taking regular magnesium, and then exogenous ketones, which are BHB, and add cabbage. I'm like, okay. And I heard from some other doctor, Dr. Berg or Dr. Barry or whatever, say that cabbage was one of the best things you could eat to help heal the gut. And I'm like, more cabbage. Okay. And then in the workbook, she gives the whole protocol for how to use the chia seeds. But I like Julie's idea about the chia seeds, just put them in your yogurt.
Yeah.
You just do that every day now, Julie?
Every day. Yeah.
Every day.
Every morning.
I think that's a good idea. I don't think
Actually,
we go ahead, Renee.
I actually saw a pretty good recipe for it was to make a chia seed pudding, but it was made, now granted, the recipe was having it in regular milk, but it would work just as well, I would think, using almond milk. And that was really the only thing I needed to change on the recipe. And I haven't tried it yet, but I'm getting ready to this weekend. So we'll see how that turns out.
Mhm.
The thing
Um,
about the chia pudding, once it sits in the milk for a while, you know, the mucus starts to come out of the chia. It opens up a little bit,
uh-huh.
becomes sort of slimy. And
Oh,
that's when you do absorb the calories from the chia, when it opens up like that. Now, if you take it the way Dr. Boz says it, which is dry, sort of chug-a-lug, you know, you chug it down real fast, it goes right through your system and never really breaks down like if you put it into a pudding. So
mhm.
if you do make the pudding, I think you need to calculate the carbs and the calories.
Mhm. Yeah, that was the thing. I quickly before this meeting started, I did watch that 11-minute video from Dr. Boz, and she said that the chia seeds taken, as she says, for her rescue kind of thing, do not cause your sugars to go up or cause your insulin to release and stuff, because you're taking them to release poo and stuff. So that's good to know. Then on page 47 of the workbook, she has a list of things you can do for the opposite side, diarrhea, and they include the CB C8, C10 oil, and to break open the capsules and take the oil without the capsule. And chia seeds also help with the diarrhea. And then she says fasting. If you are having a lot of problems with diarrhea, you need to fast for 36 hours. And maybe I should have tried that when I had COVID, and maybe I wouldn't have been so dehydrated. But I was told to eat the brat diet, and so I did. Thank you, doctors. I should have known better. Should have known better.
One thing I can say about the chia seeds, if you're unaware, there are 5 different kinds of chia seeds.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know. Do
Yes.
tell.
Yes, so there's 5 different kinds. Probably your best result is to buy purchase one that has a mixture of them. And that way you're getting a little bit of each one. But there's at least 5 different kinds of chia seeds.
Mhm.
I did not know that. We just get chia seeds. There's not a lot to pick from.
I used
Yeah.
to sell a product called Genesis Pure. And one of the things that it had in it was this one package of chia seeds. And I remember, and I'm sorry, I don't have the information in front of me, but I remember reading on it that one of the things that made it so unique was the fact that it used all 5 different types of chia seeds. And they were doing that because of the different properties of each of the chia seeds and what they would do for you as far as your health benefits were concerned.
Renee, do you
Interesting.
have any information about these 5 kinds? I mean, like a document or a video
Not
or
handy,
something?
not handy. I'm sure if you went to Genesis Pure, GENISES, GENESIS, Genesis, like the word in the Bible, Genesis, and then PURE. If you look up their product, the chia seeds, it'll have it on there.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'll put that in the thing from the video as well, so people can look it up. Because, well, I mean, personally, I thought chia seeds were chia seeds. I didn't know there are 5 different kinds, and probably even if there are 5 different kinds, we'll only be able to get one kind here in North Dakota,
Yep.
So,
I think most of the kinds that you buy are a blend of several different ones.
okay.
They're not all the same color. I do know that.
Right.
Oh,
So
really?
if they're all different colors, you are getting different types of chia seeds within it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So you might go through your little thing if you want to do something fun and see how many different colors you come up with.
Yeah.
That could be fun.
And that
Um,
would kind of give you an idea on how many different chia seeds strains you're using.
Julie, do you have to order your chia seeds or do you get them somewhere?
I get them at Walmart or
Oh,
Marketplace Foods or something like that.
okay. All right.
I can't get them in Rugby, so I'm sure you won't be able to get them in Rolla.
No, I'm
I will
pretty
say
sure not.
I like the ones from Genesis Pure for and one of the main reasons I went with this Genesis Pure line was because the man who developed it actually was very knowledgeable about Chinese medicine, which is the direction of my life was going with at the time, and I'm now in Chinese medicine. But so a lot of his products are Chinese medicine and Chinese theory based. So that's one of the reasons why I liked his line so much. And you can buy their chia seeds online pretty easy.
Okay. Well, Melody has a question about hemp hearts. She's heard they're high protein, but she's read that if she has a drug test done, she's going to test positive. Does anybody have
No,
any information?
you won't.
Patricia's shaking her head yes, and Renee is shaking her head no. What does anybody, Patricia, what do you know?
I only know that when I was working, before, sometimes they would announce that we were going to have tests, we were going to have random tests taken. They said,
Mhm.
don't anybody have a poppy seed muffin for breakfast,
Mhm.
because those poppy seeds could have whatever that substance is.
Opiate.
And,
Yeah, an
yeah.
opiate,
Opium.
yeah.
And so I know that some of those seeds give off false signals like that.
Mhm.
That's all
Yeah,
I
but
know.
hemp hearts don't.
Oh, they don't? Okay. I don't have an opinion, I know.
That was recently just discussed in my acupuncture group.
Oh, was it? Okay. All right. Well, there you go, Melody. There's your answer. Just be careful with those poppy seeds.
Yep.
And
That will cause a positive drug
Yes,
okay.
it
will.
Now, Melody has a couple of other things. She says since beginning keto, she has had a low grade headache just continuously for the last few weeks. So what do you ladies have to say about that?
Water. That's usually when I get mine, is I haven't been drinking enough water.
Me too. If I don't
Yeah,
have enough
summer.
protein or water, that's my issue. Jenny?
Water. Water.
Julie?
I don't
got
mean
anything?
coffee, water.
Yeah, you don't
Water.
mean coffee, you don't mean tea, you mean
Right,
water.
just water.
Julie's into water too. Okay. And then the other thing is Melody says drinking the salty water has caused some vertigo issues. What about that,
I-
ladies?
I quit using the Soleil water because I didn't like the way it made me feel. I just take the kernels, the crystals themselves, up to, I don't know, just depends. 8 of them, whatever. Pop them, I suck on them a little bit, swallow them down with some water. I don't know. The Soleil water did not. I don't like that myself. I don't know why.
So I'm going to sound very ignorant. I have water bottles like this, and I take a teeny pinch of the Redmond salt and I just dribble it. Does that make my water Soleil water?
No.
Okay. Okay. I just, well, the thing is I watched somebody's video that, if you are feeling like you're not keeping enough water in your system to keep you from getting constipated, or I sometimes have heart palpitations when I don't have enough water. They said to add just a teeny pinch of salt. So I've never done the Soleil water. I've never done it. I've only done the little pinch of salt in my water. So maybe I should ask Melody if it's Soleil water she's using or it's just a little pinch of salt. Let's see. while we're working on that, Melody asks, when did everybody start checking their blood ketones and blood glucose rather than just the pee sticks? What stage or week? I think Dr. Boz says to start around week 4 or 6, or when you get into stage 5, or the continuum 5 is when you should do that. Melody says, okay, I won't do poppy seeds, but she wanted to try hemp for a protein. Well, I think it's okay. Renee's board of acupuncture says it's okay, and they know things like that. I drink water, but it might be the protein, she says, might be her problem. It's the
Are hemp
salt.
seeds high in carbs?
Pardon?
Are hemp seeds high in carbs? I've never tried to look it up on Chronometer.
I've never looked that up on
Not hemp seed. She's eating hemp hearts.
Oh,
Hemp
hemp hearts.
hearts.
Never mind.
Seeds.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never looked it up. Scott, could you look that up on Chronometer for me?
Yeah, I'm getting it.
Yeah, I would look it up mine, but my phone had to be charged. It's not here beside me.
Yeah. And
Oh,
Oh,
talking about that,
I started doing my blood ketones and blood glucose after about 2 months of being strict no more than 20 total carbs. But I had done like urine test strips for a couple of years before I found Dr. Boz.
yeah.
And I was doing net carbs, and sometimes I'd be in ketosis and sometimes I wouldn't. And I thought I was following it pretty closely, but I was not doing total carbs. So it was a mess. But when I got to Dr. Boz, then after about 2 months, I bought the Flora Care and the strips and I do it daily, test daily.
Okay.
I do want to mention, Melody might have heard this, but there's people like me out there that were actually afraid to prick my finger. I have an aversion to seeing blood. And so it took me a good 6 months I bought the strips and I knew how to use the thing. And I had seen my sister who has diabetic tendencies. And it just took me 6 months to build up the courage to actually prick my finger.
Mhm.
And now, of course, it's no
That's
problem.
a real thing, though. That is a real thing. Working
a
in the
big thing.
medical field, it is a real thing. And people who do get diabetes and have to learn to give themselves insulin shots, that's all a learning curve that can be very difficult for people to do.
Scott, you want to talk about what you did about that?
Yeah, I had an aversion to pricking my finger as well, and the other thing I didn't like was the pain that I felt when I did jab my finger. But the thing is, well, what I did actually is that I pricked my my earlobe, because you feel absolutely no pain. But the thing is, it was scary the first time I did that, because I was thinking, wow, what kind of pain am I going to feel there? But you feel no pain on your earlobe. And so the other thing is, with me personally, I have trouble getting blood out of my fingers, but my earlobe bleeds a lot more easily. And so with me, actually, the earlobe is really nice. Yeah, that's what I did. But still, I mean, if you've got a phobia of drawing your own blood, then the earlobe is not going to be any better than the finger. In fact, it might be even worse. But if you have trouble getting blood out of your fingers, or if you just don't like the sensation, the jabbing sensation in your finger, because the fingers can be very sensitive. If you don't like that jabbing sensation, just use your earlobes.
Well, it depends too on where are you pricking your finger, because if you prick your finger right here, that's where all your nerve endings are, and that's gonna hurt.
Yeah, I've tried it
If
different
you-
places.
On the side.
If
Right.
you go here, like just off to the side, you don't get back on the knuckle, because then
right.
that's bone. But right in that little spot right there, a lot of times those don't hurt so bad,
Yeah,
because
that's
you're not
slightly better.
using that part of your finger
Right.
either.
Right. Yeah, that's slightly better. Yeah.
And if you use a sharper needle, it doesn't hurt as bad. If you use that that needle over and over and over, it will start to hurt more and more and actually leave bruises because
Yeah.
it does dull.
Yeah, yeah, right.
And I know we all want to save money, but sometimes it's not worth that really hurt that time.
Patricia's laughing. Why are you laughing,
Always the earlobe.
Patricia?
I did have that experience, Julie. I had to learn that lesson the hard way.
Yes.
Why do I have to keep changing out this blue part?
Yep.
And then I found out you do have to change it out. I mean, I
It
was swiping it down with a alcohol swab and everything to make sure it was clean.
Mhm,
But it
then
hurt.
I realized you do have to change them out.
Yep.
mhm. So, Scott, do we have an answer on those hemp hearts?
Yeah, the hemp hearts, they have less carbohydrate than sunflower seeds. For an ounce of hemp heart, it has 3.1 grams of carb.
How about the protein on that?
Protein is 8.6 grams of protein. That's
For an
pretty good.
ounce.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
They're
well,
really high. That's one of the things we were talking about in my acupuncture group was people who were trying to increase the protein.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because if you guys remember, Melody is a vegetarian. And
Yeah.
even though none of us are, we're trying to support her and help her. And
So, and where do you get hemp hearts?
I wouldn't
Order them
know.
online, probably.
Yeah, probably somewhere
Probably.
like Amazon or whatever. Yeah. Oh,
Jenny can go to Trader Joe's. I'm sure they have them.
I don't know. I've never seen them, but then I've never looked for them.
You can also buy hemp hearts usually in Asian markets.
okay.
Oh, really? Asian market?
Yeah, if you have a Whole Foods Asian market, you'll probably find them there as well.
That'll be about a 3-hour drive for us.
Yeah.
Melanie just said that she gets them at Walmart.
Oh, okay.
Oh, really? Yeah, yeah. I'll have to look for those then.
Might
Next
be a
time.
bigger Walmart than we have.
It may be. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Our
I would
Walmarts
say
are not.
Amazon, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, one other thing Melody brought up is this vertigo that she's been experiencing, and she thinks that it's the salt or the salt water or the salt inner water and stuff. What do you guys think of that? Because my personal experience has been, it's been a potassium thing with me that gives me the vertigo.
Well, and
And
it's the type of salt too that you're using. Regular
okay.
salt does not support the body as well as say pink Himalayan or Dead Sea salts.
Okay, so
Those are regular table salt, because it's been iodized and bleached, it loses so much of its properties. So it's not going to help with the body like the other salts are.
okay. Melody, what kind of salt? I use sea salt. I never used salt before. Okay, so before keto, she never used salt. Now
She might
she's
need
been
to
using
change her
salt.
salts. Try a different salt and see if you get the same effect.
You know, I'd like to ask a question about this if I could.
Okay, go ahead.
Maybe Scott can help. As I said, I had a very poor biology teacher and didn't have any chemistry in high school. Isn't it true that the water will become saturated with salt, that this water can only absorb so much of the sodium
Yeah,
and
sure.
it gets
Yep.
saturated?
Yeah.
So like when I make my Soleil water, I put a proportion of like 2 tablespoons to like 1/2 a cup of water. Okay. And I just figure that if it tastes salty, it's Soleil water. That's how and someone had said that the water will only absorb so much of the sodium, and then it would be so saturated, it won't absorb any more of the salt.
Yeah,
go-
sure. Yeah, and that goes for anything actually. Yeah. So you put 2 tablespoons of salt into a cup of water,
1/2 a cup.
1/2 a cup. And then you're able to drink that? I mean, I would think,
No, I put
okay.
that into a
Oh,
container.
okay, all right.
As I said, I use that Kikkoman soy sauce thing because it has a nice little opening on it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then I put about 2 tablespoons of that Sole water into a cup of, I drink cold brew coffee. So I
Okay.
put that,
Oh, okay.
Oh, all right.
and I
Okay.
love it. It tastes great.
Yeah.
Well, that Sole water, when you get the big chunks of the Redmond salt or the, Himalayan salt, and when it tells you how to make it, you put a clump in there, you put filtered water on the top of it into like a pint jar or something like that. So it will only dissolve so much into that water. So the rock stays on the bottom until, okay, say 2 weeks from now, you add more water, then that rock will dissolve until it's a certain salinity.
You mean a
And so
rock
that's
like
how
this?
yes.
Mhm.
And you put that in a pint jar, use a plastic cover, not metal, because the salt will corrode the metal, of course, and let it just sit overnight and dissolve. And that's the salinity of Sole water. And then you
Okay.
can take that Sole water, teaspoon, tablespoon, however much you want, and add it to your water you drink.
Oh, okay. All right.
So if you decide, okay, I want to have a teaspoon of Sole water a day, well, it's the same salinity. So if you put that teaspoon in a quart or a gallon, it's still the same amount of salinity of water, but you have to consume that much water to get that salinity.
Right.
So if you don't like really salty water, you just put it in more water and drink it that way. Now me, I like salt. I love salt actually. So I was drinking it straight and I was told that is too hard on your stomach. So, okay, not a swallow of Sole water by itself. I guess you're supposed to dilute it. I did not know that.
Okay. Okay. All right.
I mean, that's
that-
what I've learned. I don't know about the rest of you, but that's what I've learned about Sole water.
I wanted to bring up one more thing. We were getting close to the hour. I
Mhm.
mentioned last week that I was going to try that idea about pulling with bacon fat.
Oh.
And man, it works great.
You did pulling with the bacon fat.
You remember we talked about the Indians using coconut fat in their mouth to sort of clean out their mouth.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
It's called pulling.
Yeah.
And so I collect bacon fat when I make pork belly. And I put a teaspoon of, hardened bacon fat in my mouth, squished it around, and then rinsed it out with warm water. And man, you are not hungry at all after you do that. You're not eating the bacon fat. You're just
Swishing it around.
gargling with it, basically.
I have
I just
bacon
wanted
fat.
to report that worked good.
Oh, that's interesting. I have bacon fat in the fridge. I could do that. I could see if that works.
But you said you don't like cold bacon fat.
No, well, I don't really like it, but I'm willing to try it. I mean, come on. I ate sardines and I still eat sardines,
But
come on.
Have a cup of warm water for the after flush.
Okay. And I've eaten Braunschweiger. So, I mean, I'm committed, people. I'm willing to
Braunschweiger.
Braunschweiger. Whatever you say it.
Braunschweiger.
Okay. So Melody has given us the name of this endolymphatic hydrops, which I guess she was diagnosed with by an ENT at one time, which was an imbalance of the inner ear fluid. And he suggested a no additional salt diet. And
Well, they all do, yeah.
yeah, the problem with that, Melody, is I don't know how long ago that diagnosis was, but an inner ear fluid thing changes all the time, and you may not still have that. plus the balance between Dr. Hanson. Are you paying attention? Could you
Yes, yeah,
please?
I'm hanging on every word. Yeah,
Yes, good. Could you please explain to the
like
class,
usual.
explain to the class how potassium and sodium balance each other and work within the cell?
Oh, well, the thing is, the cell actually spends a lot of energy um, with potassium and sodium. It spends a lot of energy pumping potassium into the cell and pumping sodium out of the cell, so that the cell has a good concentration of potassium inside it and a low potassium concentration of sodium inside. And so, you know, that that's how it achieves that balance, you know. And then so it pumps a lot of sodium out of the cell, and then that fluid in the fluid in the tissues that is drained off by the lymphatic system, and eventually you flush it out of the body through the kidneys. Yeah. So yeah, you know, almost all of the cells in the body then have special pumps, special proteins on the membrane of the cell that serve as pumps to pump potassium into the cell and sodium out of the cell.
Mhm. But to attract the potassium into the cell, you have to have some sodium in the cell to attract it inside, right?
Well, no, I think you're thinking of maybe chloride, because
Oh, okay.
yeah, potassium is a positive ion and sodium is a positive ion, so they're not going to be attracting each other. But in order to attract anything, if you want to attract something positive, then you're going to have something negatively charged. Yeah.
Yeah. So Melody says that all of her life she's had problems with salt. Well, since Melody knows that she's had problems with salt, then she has to take all the direction everyone gives her about salt with a grain of salt.
Yes.
Melody may be in my work. I know that there are individuals who have a body constitution that tolerate salt. Those would be the lesser yang people. And then there are people who do not tolerate salt. Those are the lesser yin people. And everyone is individual, and Melody may be in the lesser yin family of people. Scott happens to be a lesser yin. So do two of my daughters and my son-in-law. I'm a yang. I can eat salt all day long and not get enough. And but other people don't. So then Melody, don't put salt in your water and don't add salt to your food. Um, but let's, you know, be aware of potassium, because I noticed in myself when I started keto that I would have days when I was really dizzy, and I started noticing a pattern. The days that I did not eat tomatoes or broccoli or other things that were rich in potassium. And at that time, I wasn't eating any milk products at all. And I wasn't eating eggs either at that time when I started keto. I would have dizziness, you know, just loss of balance, and I would stumble around like a drunk woman and not drunk. Um, so yeah, so just be aware of potassium. Stay away from the salt. I can put salt in my water, but you may not be able to, and that's fine. You know, since you've known this is an issue in your life, then we got to take everything, you know, with a grain of salt. But anyway, um, would the added salt be what I've been doing affect my blood pressure? It could. They've done studies, medical science studies, not Eastern medicine or natural studies, but they have found that there are people whose blood pressures are affected by salt. And then there are other people that could eat as much salt as they want and their blood pressures don't do anything. And
Elizabeth, the
that's
problem I have with those tests though, is that the only salt they are testing
It's table salt.
is their
yeah,
table salt.
I know.
They don't
I know.
test Himalayan salt. They don't test sea salt. They don't test any other form of salt. So I don't think the tests are as accurate as they think they are.
Well, the thing is she's telling me she has a blood pressure problem and she
Right.
has a problem with salt. So maybe she's one of those people, because I've known plenty of clients of mine that eat salt like crazy banshees and they have blood pressures of 118/70, you know. And then I have people who have been, staying totally away. Everything is no sodium. They're treating sodium like it's the devil, and their blood pressure is 180/100, you know. So it's, it really is very individual for each individual body. And so stay away from salt and see what happens to your blood pressure. That's the only way to find out whether salt is the problem with the blood pressure. So no more salt in the water, no more this and that. Now that it's going to be an individual journey, and that's what this keto is. Yes, there are guidelines and everything, but each of us have an individual journey. I mean, some people don't want to poke their fingers and will go to poking their earlobe
It's
instead,
normal, darling.
and all sorts of other stuff. We have to be individual. We can't be militant. Okay, so Melody's saying that her blood pressures will be 120/70s to 130/80s within the day, but it's usually after exertion. Well, your blood pressure goes up with exertion. Your blood pressure goes up with being upset. I had an upset on Monday, and my blood pressure went up with it. I mean, get me mad, my blood pressure will go up. It's the way the body does stuff. So
Pain
yeah.
also makes your blood pressure go
Oh
up.
yeah, pain makes your blood pressure go up, fear, all sorts of stuff. So
Stress.
yeah.
Having to go to the bathroom. A full
Yeah.
bladder will make your blood pressure go up.
Yeah, they say to not eat within 20 to 30 minutes of when you do your blood pressure, and not and to empty your bladder, and to sit quiet and still for at least 15 minutes before your blood pressure is done. And this is the thing I don't get about being at the doctor's, because they rush you in there and they make you take your do your weight, and they're doing all of this, and then they finally let you sit down and they slap that blood pressure cuff right on you, and you're supposed to be calm. No, you've been running around and being told you're fat and and everything. And so,
Yep.
but anyway, okay. Well, Patricia had to leave. And anyway, so anything else, Renee?
I was just looking up in one of my herbal formula books. One of the things, especially Melody could probably start adding to her diet that would help her blood pressure, is start adding in mushrooms.
Ooh,
Lower the blood
shrooms.
pressure.
Add in some
Certain
shrooms.
kinds. So, one of the ones I was looking on here that's where's it here? Trying to find it again. Sorry, I took my finger off my spot. Okay, it's the reishi mushroom in Japan. Is the reishi mushroom, and it's known to actually help lower the blood pressure.
How do you spell that, Renee?
R-E-I-S-H-I, reishi.
Okay, R-E-I-S-H-I, reishi.
Yeah, reishi mussels are mushrooms are good. Then there's the Grifola frondosa mushroom, which is called the dancing mushrooms. Caterpillar fungus, also known as I'm gonna say this wrong. cordyceps, was actually written back clear back in the Tang. Gosh, I can't talk tonight. The Tang Dynasty. So these are one of the formulas we have that helps people with blood pressure is it's called the 5 mushroom formula. So one of the things that the Chinese are very adept at is that they have found that there's actually even soups that are made that you can actually, like if you were at a Japanese restaurant, you could go in and you could order this soup that would be helpful to lower your blood pressure. Made with mushrooms.
Yeah, mushrooms. Who knew? Mushrooms. I don't eat very many mushrooms. I'd rather eat more bacon.
Sign me up, Sparky.
Yeah, I'd just rather have more bacon. So, Tammy or Wilma, we haven't given you a chance to talk tonight. You want to say anything? Wilma saying no.
I had put a comment that I had 2 things to talk about, but we can save them for next
Oh,
week, hopefully.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
no,
got
it's okay.
distracted.
We was chatting and we had things to talk about. There was no break or anything. But I got 2 comments or questions. So
Okay.
anyway.
Well, wanna tell us so we can all be thinking about it till next week?
Well, one is a question for Scott, and
Okay.
he mentioned that he doesn't do keto, but that he does low carb. So I wanted to ask him about what kind of carbs that he eats and then maybe how much he eats for his carbs. And then the second comment I had was I wanted to ask people's opinions or what they know about CGMs.
See what?
Continuous glucose monitors.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, I actually do keto. I mean, and I do.
It's
I do
not
get
as
carbs.
strict as I have to do.
Yeah,
But
right. I do get, a certain amount of carb in the peanuts and the sunflower seeds that I eat, and cauliflower has a little bit of carb in it.
Well, you had mentioned that you weren't necessarily keto, that you were just low carb because at a previous week.
Right. One thing I mentioned was when I talk to people, I say low carb rather than keto because I think low carb is more
acceptable,
maybe more understandable, although I don't know, I think, keto must be very widely known because, when you go through the store, you can see a lot of things that are labeled as keto. And so, I mean, that's probably a good indication that a lot of people know what that is because, a company's not going to, label something as keto if it's number one, something that people don't know, or number two, something that people generally have a negative opinion of, actually.
Recently Dr. Boz has been doing a series of shorts on her YouTube channel about is this food really keto or not? And so it's been like a frozen food, is this keto? Or it's a recipe for keto cheesecake or whatever. And she breaks it down into the fiber and the total carbs and the sugars and everything. So yeah, not everything that's labeled keto is low carb. And I think Melody is saying that. Yeah, Melody's saying that she's found that people think keto is low carb. They don't understand the whole concept of changing the body chemistry, bringing the carbs so far down that it changes the body chemistry. But I've hit resistance of using the word keto with people because they've done these dirty keto or the net carb keto kind of plans and have gotten nowhere and got no help and no healing. So I think that's what Scott was saying. He would say low carb to avoid, it's keto. Yeah, I did that. It didn't work for me. I got sick as a dog or whatever.
Another quick comment is that last time I was in Walmart, in the cereal aisle, there are some cereals that are labeled as keto friendly, and on the front in big letters it says only 3 grams of carb per calorie. But if you look at the nutrition information label, those 3 grams of carb are the net carb only. The total carb is actually like 15 or 16 or 17
Yeah.
grams of carb per serving. So yeah, I mean, that's not really a keto friendly cereal. It's more
Well,
keto friendly than probably Fruit Loops.
the other thing I've seen is it'll say that it's keto friendly, and it is low carb, but then it's also low fat. And I'm like, no, that's definitely not keto.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Fats.
Yeah.
Or it'll be low carbs and zero fats. I'm like going, oh, definitely not keto.
Mhm. Well, are people interested in talking about continuous glucose monitoring?
You can wait for next week. It doesn't have to be today. Just put
Yeah,
it on your list.
I actually listened to a podcast recently about how to work with an online doctor to get one prescribed to you for
That's
30
what I'm
days or
doing.
something.
Yeah, I'm doing
And
that.
oh, are you? That's cool. Ooh, well,
My
next
doctor
week.
interview is next week because they must be really backed up because that's when I
Okay.
could get an appointment. And I am going to go ahead and I am going to do it, but I wanted to talk about, I mean, I wanted to know if anybody had any experience or anything like that with them.
Yeah, I don't have any personal experience, but I'd like to do it. And maybe now, when is your appointment next week?
Next Friday, February 4th.
Next Friday. Okay,
I think
well,
I think you have to be careful with the knowledge because it is so volatile. It's a volatile number. So if you take your blood sugar, 10 minutes later you take it, it can be drastically different depending on how your body is doing the insulin, or if you're insulin resistant, or, it is a volatile number. We picked up somebody on the ambulance whose blood pressure was, by his DEXA, the continuous monitoring, it said it was 53. But then when we checked it with a monitor like a Floricare, it was 125. So they have to be calibrated. They have to make a number by a machine to calibrate to make sure they're reading correctly.
mhm.
It isn't like, oh, boom, you get one and you're always going to know that number.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
going to keep testing too, just to verify the numbers, that they're close. I mean, they have to be
Right.
in the same range.
Right,
I'll
but-
still finger print and just check to make sure that it's on track, and they last for about 2 weeks and then they're done. And then you have to get another one and put it in if you want to. Now, since I don't have diabetes or anything, so I'm not doing it for that. And so
Oh.
it's not something that I'll be doing, every day forever. I'm just
Yeah,
going to do it for 2 weeks, and I'm going to see what data I collect and see how, and then maybe in another month, I'll try again, for 2 weeks and stuff. I'm not gonna, I'm not planning to have it, for months and years on end, every day.
Because the insurance won't pay for that if you're not
No,
diabetic.
I'm
sure.
not even trying. I'll have my Flex Medical plan probably pay for it, but no,
Sure.
I'm not planning to have my insurance pay for it.
Okay. Because they wouldn't either, unless your doctor said something to make them think you needed it. But if you don't have a diagnosis of diabetes, I doubt that they would pay for it.
No, it's not, well, for me, it's not that much, so I'll do it.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm very interested in it. And the other thing I'm interested in is if anyone is using any of these like fitness watches or
Well,
rings
mine's
and
on the
stuff,
charger.
because Jenny has one. Next week, let's talk about fitness watches, rings, chargers, and stuff like that, because I like to check my blood pressure, but my home cuff is hard for me to get on right and get a good reading. And I tried a wrist blood pressure cuff and it was not at all accurate. And this one is not acting accurate. I mean, Earlier today, it was 118/65. And I know my blood pressure was not 118/65. I need to find a way that I can consistently get an accurate blood pressure on myself, because I need to figure out what's causing my ups and downs on my blood pressure, other than me getting really mad and my blood pressure goes way up. I mean, I know that happens.
Scott, you need to quit doing that.
It wasn't Scott, it was Sarah.
Oh,
Sarah can be very aggravating. Scott's a nice boy. And
Did you hear
but
that, Scott? She called you a boy.
yeah, I do that all the
Sorry,
time.
Ned.
He's
No,
my
I'm so
boy.
much younger than she is anyway, so you know.
Yes, yes,
yeah,
he's
right.
so horribly much younger than me. Yeah, 2 whole years and 2 months. So, anyway, so
When
maybe we
Becky and I
can.
were dating, her mom said, "Hey, you're robbing the cradle. What are you doing?"
She did. She actually told me I was robbing the cradle. He had such a baby face when we were dating, and when my mom saw his picture, how old is he? Is he 15? You're robbing the cradle. I'm like, Mom. But anyway, so maybe next week, everybody come with whatever knowledge you have about continuous glucose monitoring. I'll bone up on what I know. There's some videos I've watched. I am very interested. I'll be very curious to know what you find out, Tammy, and how your appointment goes and everything. So we'll need updates. But let's talk about these fitness things and everything. And by the way, Jenny, I've been doing my exercise standing in place this week because of you. Thank you. And because I just don't get
So if
to
somebody
walking.
laughs at you, just laugh right with them.
Yeah, well, I've been doing it down here hiding in my office
Oh,
by
okay.
myself. So all them people laughing at me.
I don't really make too much fun of her. She's blowing this out of proportion.
Oh, so now I'm a
You-
hysterical female blowing it out of proportion. Okay. No
Whatever.
wonder
Well-
my blood pressure is high.
You need to have him do it with you.
Yeah, well, he don't need no exercise.
He
so
needs some
skinny.
muscle strength and no.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah, he probably needs to do that. If he gets any more skinny, I'm gonna have to start making pants for him, because finding pants that are 37-inch inseams
Oh,
and
wow.
31-inch waist is
Yeah.
just it's just impossible. It's just impossible. And he's now holding his pants together with his belt to hold them up, and they wouldn't work on the runway, I'll tell you that much, but it's fine.
He's kind of cute. You could send him here to Oklahoma. We'll just tie him up to a flagpole and let him wave in the wind, because
Yeah.
we'll make him our new Oklahoma flag. How's that?
Well, okay. Well, no. Yeah.
She doesn't want to get rid of him that bad.
No.
Yeah.
No. Now I could send Sarah to you. You could tie her to a flagpole.
Oh.
I'm a bad person. I'm just a bad person. Anyway, okay. Enough frivolity and laughing, ladies and gentlemen. So that's it for this week. I'm going to end the recording now, and then I'll post it later. Okay. No, wrong thing.